True Vision, Hakiki Didar by Allama Nasiruddin Nasir Hunzai. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Expression of gratitude. Respected elders, brothers, sisters, friends and students. First of all, let me say that the present age is not the same as the old one, although some useful aspects were hidden in it too. You are aware that the age in which we live is an highly advanced age of science, art, wisdom and philosophy. Therefore, it has become extremely important to prepare the next generation of our dear nation and Jama'at with useful knowledge based on intellect, understanding and meticulous research. However, it is true that this demands extremely hard work and diligence, as well as unity and mutual cooperation. My dear brothers and sisters, this booklet before you, called Hakiki Didar or True Vision, is published within the Ismaili community. Although it is not an extensive work, it is very useful in the sense that through the provision of such small books, every educated Ismaili will be able to find time to read it completely. As for the importance and utility of this book, it is up to you to read it carefully and judge for yourself. If possible, give me some useful feedback so that I may have more strength in my work. Truly speaking, in connection with this book, True Vision, I should thank in the most appropriate and elegant words those of my Azizan, due to whose constant cooperation I am able to complete and publish it. It is due to their constant cooperation that I am able to continue my limited service for knowledge. The force of my ethic and faith persistently demands that I sincerely thank those who always encourage me and are my supporters in this sacred service. Else, I cannot record all their names here. Nonetheless, it is necessary to mention briefly how this booklet was written. It was perhaps 16 January 1976 that after an excellent majlis assembly, my benefactor and dearest spiritual brother, Fateh Ali Habib, asked me to write such a book. This idea was welcomed by my intimate friend Nasrullah also, and together with Shamsuddin and my Aziz Barkat Ali, they discussed its importance and how useful it is to present some realities and recognitions of the subject of Didar, vision. Thus, I sincerely thank all those Ismailis who love knowledge and recognize the true, and as a Darwish, pray that may God enrich them and the entire community with the wealth of knowledge and bless them in both the worlds. Your servant for knowledge, Nasiruddin Nasir Hunzai, 21st January 1996. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Blessed Vision. God knows why my dear friends give me this lovely suggestion to express my thoughts on the subject of vision. It was perhaps because of the fact that our beloved spiritual guide and leader, Hazrat Maulana Dhani Salam Ad-Data Shah Karim Al-Husseini alayhi salatu wassalam, was soon going to graciously come to our beloved country Pakistan to bless us the Ismailis with his sacred Didar. Thus, before describing its grace, blessings, results and fruits, I think it appropriate to present some easily understandable examples from the external world, so that everyone may easily cross this physical and material bridge and reach the city of truth and wisdom. In this connection, it is important to give a cognate and easy answer to the question, which of the five senses, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching is the most superior? And what is the importance of the faculty of seeing? And how much happiness can man attain through it? To respond, first we should pay attention to the word vision, the Persian word for which is didar, which is derived from the infinitive didan. According to me, and certainly according to others too, it is an extremely pleasing and lovely word. Why not? Since it is used for the observation of the internal and external beauty of God and nature, and it is the name of the observations of the wonders of creation and traces of divine mercy. It is used for the manifestation and observation of the world of spirituality, in addition to the world of imagination, the world of dream, and the world of reflection and thinking, in which every beautiful thing is colored in the color of God. Surah 2, Ayat 138. And above all, in its ultimate meanings, it is used for the holy encounter with God. It should be known that although our 5 external senses first relate to material things, some of them are superior to others, and the faculty of seeing surpasses them, because its reach is boundless and its pleasure unlimited. That is, the pleasure and happiness which it attains by observing the exquisite wonders of nature and the beautiful and attractive senses of the world never cease. If you go to an orchard and eat the various delicious fruits, how many can you eat? If you go to a rose garden and smell the fragrance of beautiful flowers, how much fragrance can you absorb? It is possible that after a while you might have a headache, because physically the brain is limited and cannot contain the particles of fragrance beyond a specific quantity. On the contrary, the beautiful scene of a garden is not such that it may tire your mind, or you may be satiated or dejected by it. Also among the wonders of eye is that it can contain within itself not only the earth, but also the heaven, and can even compress very big things and make them small. This shows that the power of the eye is very close to spiritual forces. Thus, those who have true knowledge know that, in addition to external senses, there are internal senses in man, and among them, the faculty of the inner eye is most exalted and superior. Therefore, in the Quranic wisdom, the topic which is selected to indicate all the spiritual pleasures of paradise is the vision Didar, Liqa, of God. Whatever may be the nature and reality of the vision of God, it contains within it paradise with all its favors and delights. And wherever in the Quran paradise is described and praised, it is an allegorical explanation of the vision of God or the divine manifestations. This explanation should not arouse fear in someone about the existence of paradise. Rather, he should be assured that paradise and all its bounties are there, but in an intellectual and luminous form, not in a material and physical form, because there everything, every bounty and every pleasure is tinted in the divine color, or, in other words, paradise is the abode of the diverse manifestations of the absolute light. The vision, thus, whether it is of the Holy Prophet or of the Imam of the time, is the only means for the vision of the hereafter or paradise. This vision is the source of satisfaction of the heart and the means of comfort of soul for the followers, because this belief and concept is consequent to the belief in the existence of God and yearning for His closeness. The purpose of vision is return to the religion of God and attachment to it, attainment of divine guidance and fulfillment of obedience to Him, and thus to receive a part of His mercies and affections and those of His Prophet, the mercy for the worlds. Vision is the means of attaining all these. The Divine Throne, Arsh and Imam. It should be known that to circumambulate, walk all the way round, a sacred place such as the Kaaba is a great honor and reverence,
as it is mentioned in the A'imul Islam,
that the angels circumambulate the Supreme Throne. A meaningful question arises here. Is this circumambulation for the honor of the throne or for the honor and servitude of God? If the answer is that it is for the honor and servitude of God, a further question arises. Why do they not circumambulate God alone, leaving aside the throne and its bearers? Because it is obvious that the throne is not God. Therefore, honor and worship should be due exclusively to God. The answer to this question is not possible except for the people of reality, i.e., the people of Ta'wil. Some Ta'wili glimpses of one aspect of this exalted pearl are that the pure Imams are the bearers of the Supreme Throne, and the absolute light which they bear is the Divine Throne. The reality of Tawheed is Rahman, compassionate, who sits on the light, and the souls of the mu'mins are the angels who circumambulate the luminous throne. As Maulana Ali alayhi salam says, I am he who is the bearer of the divine throne with the righteous ones, i.e. the Imams of my children. Hazrat Adam and Imam. It is clear and explicit from the wise Quran that the spirit which God breathed into the first man of that cycle, i.e. Hazrat Adam, was also breathed into Hazrat Maryam. See verses Surah 15, Ayat 29, Surah 21, Ayat 91, Surah 32, Ayat 9, Surah 38, Ayat 72, and Surah 66, Ayat 12. This shows that the Holy Spirit which had appeared in Hazrat Adam has continued through the sacred chain of the prophets and Imams. In fact, the light of this spirit has been attained by the religious dignitaries such as Hazrat Maryam, who was neither a prophet nor an Imam, but only a Siddiqah, a truthful lady. Then you have to certainly believe that the same divine or Holy Spirit due to which Hazrat Adam had become the object of the prostration of angels is still in the perfect man. Therefore, every prophet and Imam is worthy of veneration and honor, and no sensible person would ever say that this is disbelief or polytheism, when we know that the veneration, i.e. the prostration which the angels had done to Hazrat Adam, according to the command of God, was far greater than any veneration, that is, with respect. This is a fundamental proof of the exalted rank of the perfect man. This will be followed by some other proofs and demonstrations from the Quran, the Hadith, and logic about the grandeur and veneration of the Holy Prophet and the Imam of the time. Prophets and Imams. According to our doctrine, time is divided into two parts. The first is that of prophethood, and the second that of imamat. In the cycle of imamat, no imam becomes a prophet or a messenger, but in the cycle of prophethood, some of the prophets were imams also. In the following are mentioned the names of those famous prophets who were also imams in their respective time. 1.
Hazrat Shis,
2. Hazrat Hud. 3. Hazrat Ibrahim. 4. Hazrat Ismail. 5.
Hazrat Ishaq.
6. Hazrat Yaqub. 7. Hazrat Yusuf. 8. Hazrat Ayyub. 9. Hazrat Shu'aib. 10. Hazrat Harun. 11.
Hazrat Yusha bin Nun.
12. Hazrat Al-Yasa. 13. Hazrat Dawood. 14. Hazrat Suleiman. 15. Hazrat Zakaria. 16. Hazrat Yahya. And 17.
Hazrat Shamunus Safa. See Al-Imama fil Islam, pages 145, 147, 149, 151 and 153.
The point is that the Imam is extremely close to the Prophet, and no other has received the rank which the Imam has received from him. This means that the perfect attributes of the Prophets, which are mentioned in the Quran, are also related to the Imams. Thus, it is a fact that there are many favors and blessings hidden in the blessed vision of the Imam of the time from every Mu'min's benefits according to his courage. The Quran and the Imam. The Holy Quran is the wisdom-filled speech of God, the glorification and the veneration of which is incumbent upon every pious Muslim, and in this connection all appropriate manners rendered in words and deeds are commended. Similarly, the respect and veneration of the Imam of the time is also incumbent and necessary, because by the command of God he has not only the exalted rank of the teacher of the Quran, but also of the speaking Quran. It would be a glaring audacity against the sanctity and honor of the Quran if someone denies the honor and respect of the Quran just because it cannot remove a fly when it sits on it. Similarly, if someone objects to some human aspect of the exalted Imam on that grounds says that he should not be respected and venerated, then this would definitely be a weakness of his intellect and a grave error indeed. The example of the Quran according to Islam is that first it should be accepted with devotion and love and kept with oneself, whether traveling or at home, and to read and understand it and then act upon its teachings. Similarly, first of all, one has to accept the exalted Imam with sincerity and certainty, then to create within oneself friendship and love for him and full zeal for his vision. Then as a consequence is attained the light of his teachings and guidance, in the illumination of which, acting upon the commands of God and the Prophet, eternal salvation is attained. The Kaaba and the Imam. The Kaaba is the sacred and venerated house of God, and the adequate proof of this is that he called it his house. Surah 2, Ayat 125, Surah 22, Ayat 26, and Surah 106, Ayat 3. Now, if someone, according to his particular intellect and defective logic, considers revering it as idolatry and does not believe in its ta'wili wisdom, it will be his misunderstanding and great ignorance, because he does not at least believe that some wisdom and expediency of God is contained in it. Similarly, at the level of hakikat, the Imam of the time is the exalted house of God, in proof of which there are numerous bright proofs in the Quran, the Hadith and reasoning. One of the proofs is that according to Surah 57, Ayat 3, Allah is the first, the last, the apparent and the hidden. That is, Allah is present and living in every world. Thus, if in the world of Shariat, his house is the Kaaba, in the world of Hakikat, his house is the pure personality of the Imam of the time, because the Shariat is the exoteric, Zahir, and Hakikat is its esoteric, Batin aspect. It is impossible to think that in Zahir, God should have a specific house, but not in Batin. Rather, the fact is that the Kaaba is a symbol, Mithal, and the exalted Imam is the symbolized, Mamsul, and there is no doubt that both the symbol and the symbolized of God are extremely sacred, blessed, and venerable. The Holy Prophet and the Imam. Here, the specific principle of divine wisdom should be remembered, that whenever in the wise Quran God says something to the Holy Prophet about religious matters, he takes into consideration all those means of knowledge, wisdom and guidance by using which he was going to guide the people of the world in the present and in the future, as it is clear from the following examples. In Surah 42, Ayat 52, God says, O Prophet, verily you guide to the right path. This verse shows decisively that the Holy Prophet will be responsible to fulfill the sacred duty of continuous guidance of Islam till the day of resurrection. And it is obvious that this is possible only if he were to do so through the Holy Quran and his successor, the Imam of the time. Praise belongs to God. He does so. And this is the reason that today the Ismailis obey the Holy Prophet through the Farman of the Imam of the time. In Surah 9, Ayat 73, God says, O Prophet, do jihad against the infidels with sword, and the hypocrites with tongue, and be severe with them. It is obvious that this command of jihad is literally given only to the Holy Prophet, but by this God does not mean that he alone will do it against the infidels and the hypocrites. Rather, in this command are implied all those means of jihad with which he was able to do so, such as the commanders of the army whom the Holy Prophet used to appoint. This clearly shows that the successor of the Prophet, i.e. the true Imam, is mentioned in many Quranic verses in such a way that the common people are not aware of it. Thus, it follows from this that the veneration of the Imam after the Prophet is incumbent in Islam. A wisdom-filled part of the verse of light upon light, which consists of only 3 words, contains so many wisdoms that by knowing them, many realities of light can be evident. First of all, it alludes that the light transfers from one personality to another, because this is the meaning of light upon light. This is true not only in the sense that the Prophet was light in his time, and after him the Imam also, but also in the sense that its chain of personalities has continued from the time of Hazrat Adam. Thus it is clear that the veneration of the Imam of the time is unanimously accepted according to the Quran and Islam. Thus this belief is a fact that the vision of the present Imam represents the vision of the Prophet, and the vision of the Prophet that of God. Means of guidance. In the preceding examples, the divine law has been explained that the Holy Prophet was the guardian and guide of the religion of God, but he, by the command of God, also kept the fountainhead of knowledge, wisdom, and guidance continuing forever in this world by means of the heavenly book and the true Imam. This means that the guidance of the Imam of the time is that of the Prophet, and his guidance is that of God, as it is clear from this Quranic verse, Surah 25, Ayat 31, "And your Lord is sufficient as a guide and helper." The purpose of this wisdom-filled teaching is that the system of guidance which God has ordained for mankind according to his sunnah, law, and habit is acceptable to him and praised here. And that system is that his guidance and help always continue by means of the true guides. Thus, it is certain that the guidance of the prophets and imams is the guidance of God, because it is they who are commanded by and merged in God. Wasil billah. Ahl Bayt and the Imam. The Holy Prophet has said about his holy Ahl Bayt, the people of the house, "By him in whose hand is my soul, faith does not enter the heart of a person until he loves you for the sake of God and his messenger." Reference Miftahu Kunuzi Sunnah on the authority of Tirmidhi and Masnad of Ahmad bin Hanbal. This hadith enjoins not only the friendship and love for the Ahl Bayt, i.e. the Panj Tane-Pak, but also that of the Imam of the time, because the very purpose of Ahl Bayt after the Prophet is the Imam of the time. Having established the necessity of friendship and love for the Imam of the time, we can also say that its natural consequence is his blessed vision, so that thereby this pure religious love may increase progressively. Similarly, the Holy Prophet has said about Maulana Ali alayhi salam, "Nobody except a mu'min loves him, and nobody except a hypocrite hates him." Here it is necessary to know that just as the Quran is the criterion Furqan to distinguish between true and false, the exalted Imam Ali is also the criterion to distinguish between a mu'min and a hypocrite. The Prophet has said, "Ali loves Allah and His Messenger, and Allah and His Messenger love him." The Holy Prophet has also said, "I am the house of wisdom, and Ali is its door." Thus it should be known that the status which Ali alayhi salam had is held by the Imam of the time, because it is the same light of walayat which was in Maulana Ali, which manifests now in the living and present Imam. The above mentioned and many other ahadith show that the veneration, excellence and honor of the pure Ahl Bayt and the Imam of the time is unanimously and universally accepted, and they also explain the verses about the walayat of Maulana Ali. How is it possible then for a mu'min to doubt the consequences and fruits of the friendship and love of the Imam of the time and his holy vision? However, questioning is valid and useful for the sake of knowledge. In any case, Alhamdulillah, the true mu'mins, according to the aim and object of God and His Prophet, befriend and love the Imam of the time, and always yearn ardently for his blessed and sacred vision. The heart of a mu'min and the Imam. According to our hadith, the heart of a mu'min is the throne of God. The point worth reflecting on here is that the mu'mins, with respect to increase and decrease of the light of faith, Iman, are on differing levels. Therefore, it is absolutely correct to say that it is the heart of the Prophet and that of the Imam which in true sense is the throne of God, as they are on the perfect level of the light of faith. And there is no doubt that in reality it is their heart which is his throne of spirituality, luminosity, and recognition. This shows that numerous blessings are hidden in the sacred vision of the Imam of the time. Obedience, love, and vision. It is evident from the verse Surah 4 Ayat 59 that first obedience is to God, then to the Prophet, and then to the Ulil Amr, i.e. the pure Imams. However, everybody knows that obedience to God without the Prophet is impossible, and similarly, obedience to the Prophet without the Imam of the time is impossible. Accordingly, it is said in the language of wisdom that love for God is attainable through the Prophet, and love for the Prophet through love for the Imam of the time. From this, it logically follows that this example is not confined only to obedience to and love for God, but is also applicable to his vision. That is, it is through the blessed vision of the present and living Imam that the vision of the Prophet and God can be attained. Means and prayers. In Surah 4, Ayat 64, God says about certain people during the time of the Prophet, "And had they, when they had done injustice to themselves, come to you and asked Allah's forgiveness, and the Messenger also had asked pardon for them, surely they would have found Allah forgiving and merciful." This divine command clearly shows how important is the presence of the true Imam and how necessary is the means of his pure prayer for the mu'mins. This is a clear indication of the fact that when the mu'mins have the vision of the perfect guide, the Imam of the time, their hearts melt miraculously and tears flow automatically from their eyes. The external and internal state of such fortunate mu'mins is presented in the presence of God not only as repentance and special prayer, but also as a practical gratitude for this enormous bounty. All these blessings and felicities are, in reality, due to the pure vision. In order for a mu'min to engage in the worship of God and his glorification and sanctification, he depends on the help of ordinary things, such as the voice, for which first he has to fill his lungs with air through respiration. Then, from this collected air, he makes letters and words with the help of his throat, tongue, palate, teeth, and lips. This means that man, who himself is created, creates letters and words in this way, and with their help he worships God. This means that whether in religion or in the world, at every level, he is in dire need of a means, and without a means he cannot do anything. Therefore, in religious matters, he should always have recourse to the Imam of the time. Vision of God. Although it is a fundamental Quranic reality that God is incomparable and has no resemblance with his creatures, it is also a Quranic fact that his vision is possible only in the hereafter, but also in higher spiritual in this world. Here we are not discussing how the divine vision is possible, indirectly or directly. In any case, it is a fact according to the Quran, as it says, Surah 75, Ayah 22 and 23, "Some faces that day will beam in brightness and beauty, looking towards their Lord. According to this sacred teaching of Islam, it is clear that the blessed vision of the Prophet and the Imam is important because of the fact that just as their obedience and love are God's obedience and love, their sacred vision is the vision of God, and in this respect, the Holy Prophet has said, "He who has seen me has indeed seen God." In Surah 7, Ayat 79, in the language of wisdom, it is said that not loving the true guide results in the rejection of advice and guidance. This is because it is the characteristic of human nature that the teaching of a teacher or the advice of a counselor is received only if it is believed and loved, particularly in religious teaching. Guidance cannot advance if a wall of enmity is erected in front of it. According to religious teachings, love for God cannot be directly attained without the mediation of the Prophet, and that for the Prophet without the mediation of the Imam of the time. The Imam of the time is present and living in this world. Love for him is the root and foundation of the entire religious loves, which leads to the love for the Prophet and then for God. The Quran says that God has granted mu'mins the love for faith. That is, He has made the faith cherished and beloved to them. This implies that the Prophet and the Imams, who are the embodied faith, Imani Mujassam, must be befriended and loved. The Holy Prophet has said, "He who has seen me has indeed seen God." This hadith is full of great wisdoms. One of them is that he was the face of God in his time, as according to Surah 48, Ayat 10. He was undoubtedly the hand of God in his time. And as the Holy Prophet was the face of God in his time, the pure Imams are the face of God in their respective time. Thus, knowing this fact will give great happiness to true mu'mins, that the more they yearn for the sacred vision of the Imam of the time, the more the light of their faith will increase. In Qutbatul Bayan, Maulana Ali says, "I am the face of God in the heavens and the earth." The ta'wil of this farman is that the Prophet and the Imam are the face of God in the sense that, in the world of religion, they are the vicegerent and deputy of God, and God is recognized through their recognition, because the vision of God is attained through their vision, and in their love is hidden the love for God. Thus, the certain means of divine vision is its first stage and representative of the second stage. Thus, the vision of the Prophet and the Imam is the representative vision of God. If it is accepted that man is the most noble creature because he is given excellence and honor over all things of the universe and existence, then it is also has to be accepted that the perfect man is the most noble and excellent of mankind, and the souls of the righteous people are angels and spiritual beings,
Ruhaniyin,
according to their ranks. Then the prophets and the Imam, who are perfect men, are extremely close to God. In other words, they are in the state of Fanna Fillah, annihilation in God, and Baqa Billah, survival in God. Had they not been so, and had they remained the slightest distance in the path of God, they would not have been true guides of the people. Thus, it is evident that the perfect man is completely merged in God, Therefore, the bliss of the gracious vision of the Imam of the time is essential, so that the mu'mins may be able to completely attain the blessings from his presence. Ana and Fana. At the end of the attractive and pleasing subject of true vision, it is appropriate to explain some realities of Ana, I, and Fana, annihilation. Because the most useful result of the blessed and sacred vision of the spiritual or real beloved is that the I or ego of the true lover should be effaced and annihilated in his reality. And this supreme bliss is attained by a wise mu'min only if he or she takes the complete help of knowledge and good deeds. The subject of Ana and Fana has many aspects, therefore a lot can be written about it. However, keeping in view the facility and interest of readers, we want to present that aspect of the subject in which abstruse and difficult terms are not involved. Thus, Ana in Arabic means I or ego, which is indicated by saying I, and Fana in Arabic means to efface and annihilate this Ana according to the special rules of religion, so that the mu'min may get rid of every kind of defect and shortcoming and merge in the companion on high.
Rafiq A'la.
The lower I of man can be annihilated only when enraptured in true love. He succeeds in offering sacrifices of body, soul and intellect for the sake of the completion of religious goals, because the lower I subsists on human existence, which consists of these three things, and hence in this respect sacrifice and annihilation is of three kinds: physical, spiritual and intellectual. If a true mu'min always strengthens religion through his physical services without any show or ostentation, his lower I and egoism come to an end or become weak. Similarly, the lower I can be effaced and sacrificed by worship, ibadat, spiritual exercise, remembrance, reflection and shedding of tears in true love, and this is through the soul. The same purpose can also be achieved through sincere intellectual sacrifices, that is, serving the nation and the community with mind and intellect, and considering oneself humble and insignificant. Thus, these three kinds of sacrifices result in effacement of the lower I and revival in the communal and universal soul. One great and special mercy among the unbounded divine mercies which are available in Islam is that the lower I can be effaced and annihilated with unselfish monetary sacrifices also, like those of the above mentioned sacrifices. It is so important because of the fact that contrary to it, the desire for the plenitude of wealth, parsimony, and avarice cause many vices such as self-conceit, egoism, selfishness, worldliness,
voluptuousness,
disobedience, which stop the growth of any zeal for any altruism, sacrifice, effacement and annihilation. Thus, the prevention of these spiritual diseases and their cure are possible only through monetary sacrifices. The Holy Quran says, "Everything is perishable save His face. His is the authority, and to Him you shall all return." Surah 28, Ayat 88. According to the wise people, this wisdom-filled verse means that a mu'min can only become revived in his origin, namely the higher I, Ana-ye-ulwi, and have the divine vision of the face of God if everything of his existence is annihilated either by willing annihilation or unwilling annihilation, i.e. death. Otherwise, everything such as body, soul and intellect which is not purified and dissolved becomes a veil in front of him. Therefore, it is said, die spiritually before physical death, so that by voluntary annihilation you may merge in God. According to Sufis, there are 3 levels of effacement and annihilation, which are Fana fi Shaykh, annihilation in the Shaykh; Fana fil Rasul, annihilation in the Prophet; and Fana fillah, annihilation in God. This concept is very pleasing according to the people of the Hakikat also. However, there is a fundamental difference that the pure Shaykh in whom the Mu'min should annihilate himself is only and only the Imam of the time, as the verse of obedience, Surah 4, Ayat 59 commands, O you who believe, obey God and obey the Messenger and the Ulil Amr from among you. In this command of obedience, there is clear logical indication to love them and to annihilate in them step by step, because annihilation is the corollary of love, and love that of obedience. The purport of Surah 55, Ayah 26, 27 and 28, in which annihilation is mentioned, is that annihilation of everything on earth and the ever-abiding of the face of the Lord, who is full of majesty and honor, is his greatest favor for both jinn and mankind. This shows that the annihilation of one's ego or lower I by effacing it with humility and reviving and abiding eternally in the real beloved is the greatest bounty. Hazrat Maulana Imam Sultan Muhammad Shah Salawatullahi alayhi in his memoirs has mentioned love and effacement, self-forgetting and annihilation succinctly but extremely comprehensively, meaningfully and in a wisdom-filled way. If one reflects in the light of this blessed and sacred guidance of the Imam, he or she can come to know the great secrets of the purpose of life and the indication of the final destination.